Hey, quick question. What do werewolf, vampires, and flaming knights have in common? Besides being out of my genre? A crossover. I'm Radiant Black, and this week I'm heading down to the Big Easy to clean up Rogue Sun's mess, and will probably tell him no when he asks me to buy alcohol. Narc! Don't miss my side of the supernatural drop-in with Radiant Black 33, available now at your local comic store. Hey, quick question. What do werewolf, vampires, and flaming knights have in common?
We got to figure out that looping gag.
What's this week, Kyle?
One of these days we'll get this right. Hey, everybody,
welcome. Everyone.
Oh yeah, you do it. Sorry.
Do you remember how I'm the host of the live stream? Yeah, welcome everyone to the Radiant Black live stream for Radiant Black issue 33. I am your host and series editor Michael Busuttil. Today I'm joined by series co-creator and co-writer Kyle Higgins.
How's it going?
At his fun new camera angle, and series guest artist Eduardo Ferigato. Say hi, Eduardo.
Hey guys.
How's everyone doing?
We're good.
I'm good too.
Yeah, we're just hanging out here. Gonna talk some issue number 33, and maybe have
working on 35.
I was gonna say a sneak peek at 34 here for everybody a little later in the stream.
Yeah, so today, as always, we are going to talk about Radiant Black issue 33. I feel like it is worth just reminding people, if you haven't read issue 33, this will be full of spoilers, so hop off, come back once you've read it. Please make sure you don't ruin it for yourself like this. And with that, why don't we start talking about it? Kyle, I'd love to open by just talking about the crossoverness of this issue. I know you and Ryan talked about this on our live stream for Rogue Sun 26, but for anyone who didn't hear that, how did the idea of doing a crossover come about? Why here? Why now? What can you tell us?
Yeah, it's really something that we talked about for quite some time, because we wanted to make sure that if we were going to do something like this, we found like the best way to do it. And as we've talked about a million times by now, accessibility is like a really big thing for us. So we don't want to do something ever that makes one of the books a required read for anyone who's not already picking it up or anyone who's not interested in picking it up. So it's a really tricky needle to thread, and it had to be the right, not only story, but moment in, I guess, kind of like the history of the book, for it to make sense, where kind of all parties would be aligned, and we could do something like this and design the crossover in a way so that it was additive to each book, but also not fully necessary, I guess would be the best way to articulate it.
Absolutely. And we can talk a little bit more about how we managed that as we get into the issue. Eduardo, was it cool to draw Rogue Sun?
Yeah. I wish he could draw more Rogue Sun. It appeared in like, for me, it was like, what, 5 pages?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. I wish there was more action with Rogue Sun, but it was fun either way. And I'm glad that Rogue Sun has a slicker design now. It was easier to draw.
How many times, Eduardo, have you drawn Rogue Sun before?
Just 2, because I draw him on the Massiverse posters.
Oh yeah, the ones that Igor colored.
Yeah, Massiverse posters. Yeah, it was the old Rogue Sun with much more details on his clothes, on his suit. But he's fun to draw.
I guess, Michael, I didn't realize that we tightened up the design.
Yeah, just, over the course of 3 years of drawing the book, Abel has just smoothed out some of the sort of wrinklier parts of the suit a little bit. He's given it an iron,
There's some steam treatment for...
yeah, well, it's because of all the fire. He got wet one time, and it just really, helped him out.
He gave the Marcelo treatment.
Yeah, exactly.
Clean
nice and slick and clean. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, apologize to everyone for the new camera setup, and I promise I promise I definitely won't convert to this mode
Oh, don't. You
too
have to stop
often.
doing that. That's so bad.
Actually, which we could ask everybody, which layout do we prefer, since it's just the three of us. We have this layout, which is a little wider, and we also have this layout where
Uh,
we're all a bit more cropped and filling your frame. I don't know
this
why
one,
Michael's resolution.
I feel like I absolutely have to be in the center, and it makes it that's very tough to do when I'm not actually looking at the video.
Is it a little tight?
It's a
Okay, we'll,
lot,
we'll
but
go
that's
we'll go a
fine.
little wider. Yeah.
So, Kyle, this issue opens with Marshall meeting someone perhaps a little unexpected. What can you tell us about this first scene before we get to the meeting with his mother?
So this is an opening scene with someone else's mother. This is Nathan's mom, Mrs. Burnett. Her first appearance since the Catalyst War ended, and that final sequence that we had in issue 30.5. Um, it brought Mrs. Burnett and Marshall probably closer together than we've seen them be at any point in the book thus far. And, I feel like there's been an interesting dynamic between them, and at different points, whether it's, issue number 11, the events of issue number 9, where Marshall seemingly runs out of the hospital as they're pulling the plug on Nathan or taking out the breathing tube. And then later in the book as well, it hasn't necessarily felt like, she had I don't know, like it's not that she didn't, it's not that she disliked Marshall. I think that she just has lived through a lot of Marshall's bullshit over the years.
Hmm.
And I think where they landed at the end of 30.5 is really nice. And her kind of admission of belief in him as far as the type of radiant black that she thinks he will and can be, um, is I think was a really nice kind of endpoint for their kind of dynamic up to that point. And she tells him, like, she wants to see him, like he always has a place for dinner anytime he's in town. And so we thought it would be great, considering what Marshall was back in Lockport to do this issue, if he stopped off for a little courage, bottled courage, with his best friend's, fairly recently widowed mom, Mrs. Burnett. And yeah, as you can see here in that last panel, Lockport is still in the midst of a rebuild here, and there's still quite a bit of destruction from the events of not only the Catalyst War, but keep in mind, actually, it's not from the Catalyst War. Keep in mind, it's from issue number 23, when the big robots tore the roof off of Marshall's rental house, and it's the destruction that then took place down Main Street is still it's still being worked on.
Absolutely. So, as you say, Marshall is back in town for a different reason. We haven't seen a lot of Marshall's kind of personal family life in the book. We've met his mum once before, I think. I think that's it.
Yeah,
Why?
at the top of issue 13. Yeah.
Yeah. Why was now the time to come back and, readdress that?
Well, I think that what we're interested in exploring, um, I think one of the things that a lot of us from the Midwest, and probably even outside the Midwest, just kind of like a universal thing right now in this country, is that we're probably not going to be in agreement with certain people in our own family about different beliefs, whether it be political or religious or both. And considering Marshall's relationship with his mom and what just happened with the Catalyst War, as well as some things we know about Marshall's mom that we haven't really dived into in the book yet, but we have alluded to in that first appearance in issue 13. His mom finding religion by way of the conspiracy theories that are weaponizing people against Radiant Black felt like just a really, really right now resonant way to explore some of the fallout of the Catalyst War and what exactly some of these challenges for Marshall are gonna look like as we move forward here, and how we're going to be exploring these challenges in pretty unexpected ways. So we love to personalize the impersonal, and I think coming home to find out that your mother has not only found God and cleaned herself up, but also her feelings about religion and beliefs are centered on believing Radiant Black is the Antichrist. Just felt like a really great problem for Marshall to have.
Eduardo, I would love to talk to you about this adorable little Radiant Black chew toy that Orson is just tearing to shreds. Did you just draw this from scratch? I don't even remember if it was in the script or not.
I think Kyle mentioned this idea when we were in India,
Uh-huh.
and I suggested that we did that with plushes that Marcelo has done it. Marcelo, there was, what year was it that Marcelo, we went to a Comic-Con here in Brazil, and Marcelo took a lot of Radiant Black plushes that he had ordered. So I drawed one of those plushes.
I
Yeah.
think it was. I'm pretty sure it was like 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
For anyone who wants to see here, I'm not sure if we can zoom in on this or not. No, I don't think we can, unfortunately.
And I was glad to draw Orson again too.
Yes,
I
we had
wanted
a
to
lot of
bring-
people asking us where Orson was and if he was safe and if he was alive. And I know we're evil, but we wouldn't have killed the dog off panel, you guys. If we were going to kill the dog, we'd have gotten some, mileage out of it. Oh, maybe that makes us sound more evil now that I put it that way.
Y'all got to make the RB dog toy real merch someday. Victoria, love the idea. Also, if you don't think I haven't already reached out to some manufacturing friends and facilities to figure out how to do that, then you must be new to the book. With love and respect. But yeah, absolutely. Are you kidding? Like that was like first idea was how hard would it be to pull this off?
Yeah, it's worth mentioning that after the question, how hard can it be, the answer is almost always, oh, pretty hard, huh? But that's fine, we'll work it out.
Yeah.
So as Marshall comes home to try and unpack this, he gets another alert about, I don't know, man, there's someone, they've got wings. This could be a hot date, maybe. It's
Marshall
not.
does love a hot date.
Unfortunately for him, it's a wolfman. It's a full wolfman.
Isn't that just? Don't you just hate when that happens?
I hate it when I think I'm
Yeah.
going on a date and what I get is a vampire wolfman. It happens to me all the time. It's why I'm single.
What is the weirdest vampire wolfman that you have ended up on an accidental date with?
I can't talk about my love life on this show, Kyle. That's not what this is for.
Well,
we
but it is
need-
our show. Let's ask the chat. Hey, chat, how many of you would love to hear about Michael's werewolf, wolfman?
No, not
dating life?
werewolf and wolfman is the same, Kyle. Eduardo, I want to talk about this last panel. I feel like we've been teasing it for a long time. Can you describe the thing that you pitched to us for this issue?
And do you have?
Yeah, I have some mental problems because when I'm reading when I'm reading the issue, every time I'm reading the issue, I need to understand every character or every superpower that they have before I can start drawing. So that usually means that I'm gonna make Michael's and Kyle's and Marcelo's lives a living hell until I start drawing. So I on the moment we start discussing this, I think we were at India already because Kyle sent me the
We
scripts
were.
and we were there. And I was like in the dinner, I was like, but wait, what is what does a werewolf vampire does? What's his power? Will he eat you? Will he suck your blood? Will you turn into a werewolf vampire? What's going on? How they will fight, And they were whatever, Eduardo. Just draw them fighting, and I was no, I don't understand that. I need to understand. So can we make him bite Marshall, and Marshall will turn? If you get bitten by a werewolf vampire, do you turn into a vampire or a werewolf? And every time I was asking these kind of questions, usually in like 3 in the morning, they were like, "Go to sleep, Eduardo. Go to sleep, Eduardo." Everybody was telling me to go to sleep, and I couldn't
It,
sleep. So I did this idea that was obviously rejected for the book, but
I love that
so
you knew it was going to be rejected
yeah.
at 3 a.m. before you ever drew it, much less sent it.
But
Eduardo's sending
I
us
gotta
these
take it
things.
out. They need to go out of my brain.
Eduardo's sending us these, and I'm going like, okay, but he gets bitten on page 12, and we have a 5-page Rogue Sun crossover that we have to do in the back of the issue. So if he
Yeah.
becomes a Wolfman, we have 3 pages to fix it in. That's a whole other, that's a whole arc if he becomes a Wolfman. And it's frankly
Yeah.
a whole arc of a different book.
Now, Eduardo, what I'm most curious about here is what is this little C in the circle mean
Oh,
next to the vampire werewolf
it's
description?
my copyrights. Already did the copyright, so you guys cannot
Yeah, this
profit
is his
from my
original
my
character.
idea.
Don't steal it.
Yeah, yeah.
And Eduardo, do you remember
That's why it
what
didn't
what
come
what
in the book. They didn't want to share the profits with me. They
do
are
you
too
wanna do you
greedy.
wanna do you wanna tell the stream, Eduardo, what kind of very favorable terms you were offering the book to be able to
Yeah, I
use
wanted
this
thirty
radiant
percent.
vampire werewolf?
Yeah, 30%, right? Of
Yeah,
the merchandising.
everything of
That's
everything.
that's
Yeah,
that's all. Yeah.
yeah.
That's why,
It's
guys,
re-
we never will get the werewolf vampire radiant because of greed. That's it. Yeah.
I mean, in this economy, it's really not a bad deal when you break it down.
30%'s pretty good.
Yeah.
He could have asked for 70.
It was fair. Yeah.
Yeah, he could have
It was
asked.
fair. One day I will launch a fanfic of the radium on the next full moon. He will turn again, into a radium werewolf vampire.
Uh-huh.
But the
Oh
bite
boy.
was the bite. I put the bite. It wasn't in the script. He was
Yeah.
bitten. So Kai was fair enough to put some jokes on it to of the transformation of Marshall being worried that he would transform. So it was fun. It got into the issue in a very very fun way.
I
Kyle
feel
does
like it's
does
worth
very well.
mentioning as well that because this is not our character, this is a character from Rogue Sun, part of these messages involved us having to go to Ryan and be like, hey, if he bites you, what? Because it's sort of never come up in Rogue Sun. They're like a family of them, but we don't really know how it works. And Ryan having to be like, what are you talking about? And we'd be like, okay, so Eduardo drew this thing, and we're just
Uh,
trying to work out.
as
That's
Kelly
right,
is
Kelly. Yeah.
wonderfully pointing out, she was there as well. Eduardo was running on maybe 4 hours of sleep across two
Okay,
days at
but
that point.
Eduardo is always running
Tops.
on maybe 4 hours sleep
Yeah.
tops.
That's true. That is also two things can be true, Michael.
Yeah, that's fair. Eduardo, I'd love to talk separately. Let's separate from that for a moment. Is there anything different about drawing a fight with a vampire werewolf as opposed to the more like, science based people with guns that we normally do in Radiant Black?
Yeah, I was like, what will he use werewolf attacks or bad attacks? So I tried to mix both of these things and make him flying real fast around Marshall, around Radiant Black. Uh, so it was fun. Like I said, I need to kind of understand the character and so I can think on action on it. So it was different. Yeah, I tried to create a bit of tension, a bit of unknown to the fight, and the things, and it's also hard to draw wolves.
Interesting.
So
But you
yeah,
love drawing dogs.
not that much. I think
Okay,
it's also hard to draw dogs, but it was fun. It was fun indeed. It
fair
was
enough.
nice. It's a cool character, a giant vampire werewolf using jeans and a jacked vampire werewolf. It's fun. And you gave me some amazing answers, Michael. You were the best.
Look, it's
Because
my
Michael
job
said
when Eduardo
it's
asks
so
these questions.
yeah.
It's my job to go flick through 30 issues of Rogue Sun and be like, oh man, have we answered that? Is there an answer to that somewhere?
And Michael was like, it's a werewolf who flies. Then that makes sense.
Yeah,
And
I
then
don't.
and I asked, Does he drink your blood?" And Michael answers, "When he's eating you, yes." That makes sense too.
I
So
think so.
Michael helped me a lot. Yeah.
Kyle, from once we decided the form of the Rogue Sun crossover here, all
Mhm.
villains in most books wear pants. Comic tropes is what I think I would say. Can you think of a
Can
book where most villains don't wear pants?
I'm glad that the werewolf wear pants.
Blizzard's no, I
yeah,
have
I'm not.
long since given up on stopping Eduardo. It's simply Eduardo's going to do what
Not
Eduardo's going to
possible.
do, and there's no point.
I wouldn't take off his pants. No.
Oh,
Superman. Well, he wears boxers over his pants.
that's 2 layers of pants.
That's a multiple panting situation.
We have to move on, Kyle. From the moment that we talked
Oh,
about,
oh, oh, Shadow doesn't wear pants.
but Doctor
Does
Eggman wears
does
pants.
Radiant Black wear pants under the suit?
Not if he can avoid it.
Can he avoid it?
Oh,
It's
hold on.
magic. It's
Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn doesn't wear pants. It's a jumper
what?
or shorts in the current
I think
design.
that we are getting. I don't even remember what the question is, so we simply have to move on. Kyle, from the moment that we worked out what the form of the crossover would be and that it would involve Radiant
Mhm.
Black going to New Orleans, you had a pretty strong vision for this Radiant Pink scene, right?
Yes. This was well, this actually similar to Eduardo. This this actually comes out of my desire to figure out how the heck would this actually work. And once you once you find a way to even like contain a werewolf vampire, how the heck are we getting him down to New Orleans? Which then prompted with between I think it was Joe Clark and I started it on a call. Joe, shout out to Joe who couldn't be here tonight because it is his I believe it's either his anniversary or his wife's birthday. I'm not I don't remember which because I'm that good of a friend clearly. But Joe and I were on the phone talking about this, and then we looped in Ryan, and basically the obvious gag was Radiant Pink could teleport them there, but how could we make it more complicated than that? So we haven't spent a lot of time exploring how exactly Eva is living in Paris and what she's into. But we thought this would be a fantastic opportunity to give a little bit of a sneak peek at what living that Parisian lifestyle for Eva looks like. And when she finally agrees, when Marshall wears her down to help with the transport, we have this fantastic splash page, probably my favorite splash we've done in the book thus far, um, on how exactly we're getting down to New Orleans. This was something, Eduardo, I feel like you and I talked about, and it was like it was a pretty fully formed idea where we could see the sight gag of it all kind of immediately. So I'm so pleased with how this turned out.
Yeah, I think this one you and Joe had it very clear in your mind from the beginning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't want to understate how much of my job is these guys writing into the outline, like they call Eva, and me being like, okay, so the sun's just gone down in Chicago, so I guess it's like 7 o'clock, which means, hold on, time zone converter. Okay, it's like 2:30 in the morning in Paris. Can we make that work somehow? They're really. I wish you'd picked a fully different country because the time zones are just not convenient for storytelling.
We'll work on that for you next time,
Thank
Michael.
Yeah,
I
you.
that's
promise.
why I make it on the make her waking up because of Michael's comments. Oh, she
Yes.
wouldn't be dating. The time zones wouldn't allow it. That I put her waking up on the scene.
So that gets us to Bourbon Street. Kyle, what this
Look,
is.
Blizzard's. I'm sorry, Michael, but Blizzard Snow is not wrong.
I don't. We have an age rating technically for the book. You know, there are restrictions on us. I think that age rating is entirely self applied, so we could
It
really
is.
just do whatever we
Yeah.
wanted. But that's fine. It's rare for Radiant Black, the book, to leave Chicago at all, right?
I would say that's correct. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about writing a different state in this book.
Well, it's something that is always a lot of fun when you get to do it. And I actually first started writing pages on Radiant Black in New Orleans. It was my only time I've ever been in New Orleans. And I was there in October, November of 2019. I think I actually landed there straight from Nova Scotia on Halloween. And in Nova Scotia, that's where Marcelo first sent me the designs for Radiant Black, where we went, oh my God, it's this is the book. This is the suit. Like, this is the guy. Then by the time I got to New Orleans, I was writing early pages for Marcelo to draw as I was also exploring the city. And Joe Clark flew down to show me New Orleans for the first time. So we loved this opportunity to bring Radiant Black to the Bayou. And Joe in particular he knows New Orleans inside and out just from his other career as a, very successful jazz player and composer. So it was really, really important to Joe in this issue that we really kind of nail the some of the quirks of the city. So in particular, like, you look at the guy throwing the can of soda or beer or whatever it is. Like, this is one of those like silver painted guys that is a street performer, and they take their corners in New Orleans very seriously. So the idea that he's talking in a very you know Cajun dialect that Radiant Black doesn't really understand, but is piecing together. Felt like, and they're arguing over corners, or that's what the guy thinks this is about. Um, as the big werewolf vampire is actually breaking free of Radiant Black's control, felt like a pretty specific sequence that could only take place in the French Quarter here.
Yeah, this was fun because I remember the very first version of this in the script was this guy doubling down on the stuff that we've been talking about elsewhere in Chicago about, like, you know, people conspiring and people's opinions about Radiant Black. And we just started talking about, has that spread to, like, how far worldwide is it? To what degree is that a local thing? And Joe just went, it's okay, we don't have to address it. I know exactly what this other thing is going to be instead.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, when Radiant Black gets conked in the head with a can, he just loses his concentration on this holding the giant werewolf man, and he gets thrown fully into a building, which throws us into our crossover section. So, Kyle, let's talk a little bit about how we approached this across the two different issues.
Sure. I've actually got the issues loaded here too, so we could almost do this kind of side by side if we wanted to see them. The idea was for the Radiant Black side of this to not only showcase bringing Radiant Black and Clyde to New Orleans, but then after Clyde breaks free, using that as the mesh point for the Rogue Sun side of the crossover to kick in. And if you remember from the opening pages of Rogue Sun, like literally we jump in to the sequence. Now this is Rogue Sun 26. So we come into in media res, Clyde already having escaped, fleeing down, Bourbon Street or somewhere in the French Quarter here. And it's pretty quick that Ari and Dylan intercept him. There's a sequence with the little boy getting thrown, who's wearing a Radiant Black hat, which I don't think I caught until we were about to go to the printer. I think it's such a fun detail. It makes his like Rogue Sun's quip, like tell everyone that Rogue Sun saved you, that much funnier. But this is where the two scenes actually come together. So you can see here, so that's the Rogue Sun version. That's the Radiant Black version. Is that neat? So alternate angles. Abel, Eduardo, and Marcelo all worked, and Bruno all worked together on this. Eduardo, do you want to talk about working from alternate layouts and alternate angles and what that process is like as an artist?
Yeah, I got the pages from Abel, so I thought it would be fun to just switch the angle so we can feel like Radiant Black on the Radiant Black issue, and we can feel like Rogue Sun on this one, because you can see that this one is Rogue Sun seeing Radiant Black arriving, and in our issue I just made it through Radiant Black's point of view, so we could have this fun interaction between them. Even the first panel there where he's with the kid, we just see that it's a closed one on the Able page, and I made a wider one from the top, like Radiant Black arriving and watching the scene.
And then the scene continues here. So this is actually the Rogue Sun side of it here. But as I just showed a second ago, this is the Radiant Black side of it. So actually some of these panels you can see, they actually are, you guys are inking over the same layouts, like panel 2 there. Yeah. Panel 3 and panel 4. Or no, panel 4 is different. Panel 5 is different. And panel 6, similar layout. But still different.
Yeah.
Yes, when the first issue went to Becca. So actually, the first issue, the Rogue Sun issue, went to Becca because of a scheduling thing. Becca didn't let her this issue of Radiant Black. This was Buddy.
Yeah.
And that meant me having to email Becca, who was on holidays, and be like, hey, so for these pages, can I please get your like original working files? Because we need them to match as close to one as possible. But also, the guys have drawn them slightly differently, so we can't just put exactly the same letters on top. We need to be able to like rearrange where everything is. And luckily, Becca was able to get those to us, and it all clicked together really nice.
Nabes, we also love
Thanks,
Eduardo's art.
Naves.
We're all big Eduardo fans over here.
This was a really interesting sequence to put together, Kyle. I think if I'm remembering correctly, like you worked out how it was gonna fit in your Radiant Black. It went to Ryan and Nick, who wove their episode of Rogue Sun around it. The scene went back to us, and you reworked the Radiant Black to fit the final version of it in. At which point, Abel and Bruno had started drawing it, and then it came back to us one final time for Eduardo to draw it. It was like much more back and forth than we're used to on these books.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it worked. I mean, in this case, Ryan and I were in touch pretty frequently on this, and because this was the second issue back for Rogue Sun, coming out of its kickoff, its rebuild kickoff issue with Rogue Sun 25, it meant that we were able to really kind of dive into this earlier than normal and plan for like this is going to be the month where these two cross over in this way, and here's what needs to be accomplished in both books for it to work. And I think we, with the exception of like one bit that we couldn't make work, I feel like we did what we set out to do here while still keeping everything really accessible.
Great. So that gets us to the back half of this scene where we are cutting out basically a whole adventure that's happening over in Rogue Sun 26, if you want to go see that. And we are just seeing the aftermath of it. Kyle, what can you tell us about this final scene here?
Well, my understanding is that if Marshall actually drank that many hand grenades, he would be dead. So that it was a real fun night, and Marshall loves a good souvenir cup. I think that's what's going on here. But you say adventure, and I say they just went out to grab some really great po' boys and hand grenades. I don't know what you're talking about with regards to a whole other, werewolf, vampire, demon, witch, grandma, and the trials and tribulations of the Blood Moon clan as it relates to Radiant Black. But,
well, if you don't know, Kyle, you should go read Rogue Sun 26, available in stores now, to find out.
That's actually solid advice, honestly, for anyone. You don't even need a doctor's order for that. Similarly, though, to what we were just talking about, this scene at the end here was designed to come back, bring the books back together. Now, the context of what you're reading here on both sides changes a little bit when you read the corresponding issue. But like this is the version from Rogue Sun. This is drawn by Abel and colored by Natalia Marquise. And then this is the version that we did with Marcelo, Eduardo, and Rod Fernandez here to match.
Yeah, these were inked by Marcelo, right?
Yeah, did you lay them out?
I've made the layouts, and Marcelo did the inks on these one. I think all the Rogue One sequence, Marcelo inked them.
Yeah. And then actually, so this is the second page of the scene, and comparing this to the Rogue Sun version, you can see here, same approach, similar layouts, certainly similar color palette, but slightly different renditions and angles on the same conversation.
I'm trying to work out what question I want to ask about this scene, because honestly, I keep wanting to ask a question that I would have to answer about finding. You came to me early on when we started talking about this crossover and were like, what's the commonality between the two series and where they're at this point? Like, how do we find an emotional pivot point that they can both hit at the same time? And that's how we got to this sort of scene at the moment where they've both talked to their mothers recently and had kind of weird interactions with them. And, you know, how they progress with that moving forward is an interesting question that neither of them quite resolves, but they both give themselves permission to keep trying.
Yeah, and this shot here in particular, I think that what was interesting was this issue came out after the Rogue Sun issue. So
Yep.
if you read both sides of this, for a lot of readers, they were reading the Rogue Sun story first. So when you look at the same scene in Rogue Sun, which I'll pull up here now, and Marshall is talking about having bumped into or seen his mother that day. I don't know that you necessarily thought we were going to see the mom scene in the Radiant Black side of things, but we did. And I think then when you read the Radiant Black side, even though you get to the scene and you've read it before, now there's different context for you, because we just watched what exactly the mom's interaction with Marshall really, is about, and what's kind of at stake there, i.e. she thinks he's the Antichrist without knowing he's actually Radiant Black. So it's something that, again, like we said, kind of a really fine needle to thread. The bit that we wanted to do here and we couldn't really make work ultimately was, ideally, we wanted to see in the Rogue Sun side the manifestation of Marcus and see that there's actually additional things that Marcus was weighing in on that you would only see on the Rogue Sun side of the conversation and not on the Radiant Black side. But ultimately, it's one of those things, you go into a story with ideas on what kind of, like narrative conceits would be most interesting. But ultimately, you have to do what's best for the characters and the story that you're actually telling. And so in that case, it was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And what was more interesting and more important, both for the narrative but also for the character, was diving into the real reason that Marshall wanted to go down to New Orleans to see Dylan, which is he's asking about that other timeline that Dylan went to in Supermassive and what he witnessed with the Marshall of that world, that now there's a big conspiracy theory here in this current Marshall's timeline about what that Radiant Black did over there and how many people he killed and how lost and broken he had become. And we can tell that that's still really weighing on Marshall here, and the feelings that his mom has don't exactly alleviate any of that anxiety or concern. But I think this conversation with Dylan and Dylan's perspective on things, even though Dylan's only 18 years old, I actually think there's some real nice kind of emotional wisdom. Not even emotional wisdom, just wisdom about being a superhero and helping people, and the nature of why you get into this type of work with superpowers in the first place.
Yeah. And from there, one last page. This is not good for Marshall. I don't want to say anything more than that, because we're going to follow up on this pretty soon, and we don't want to spoil things, but...
Well, I think anytime your next issue tag references a very popular but very awful drink from the early to mid 2000s, you know that shit's about to get real. And our hero is going to really be up against it in about 30 days.
Yeah, quite soon, actually. Sooner than you would think. So we will come back to that next month. With that, we've come to the end. We'll start looking at some questions, but
We have some super chats too, Michael.
yeah,
So
I've got.
super chats. For anyone
I
who doesn't
think
know, if you super chat, we will absolutely show it on screen and talk about it. Do you want to dive into them first, Michael?
Yeah, well, before we do, I just wanted to check with the two of you. Is there anything else you guys wanted to say about this issue, and maybe anything you'd like to tease for next issue before we go into questions?
Well, I think my question for Eduardo is, Eduardo, are you familiar with Jaeger bombs in Brazil?
Nope. And I'm not
No?
sure if I want to know what these are. But what are
Can
Jaeger
anyone
bombs?
can anyone in the chat uh, explain to Eduardo? Okay, here we go. So we're going to be giving away a 1 in 25 Radiant Black Rogue Sun foil incentive cover here on the stream, and I think the best way to determine who should get that cover is by how someone best explains to Eduardo what a Jaeger bomb is. So drop your best explanation, your best answer in the chat. Steve's in the pole position here. A bad choice. That is for sure in the pole position at the moment. But we're gonna answer some other questions, and we will circle back to the Jaeger bomb possibilities in a moment.
But you guys have to explain me what it is later, so I won't get
You'll also
curious.
have to explain it to me. I don't drink. I am aware of them, but I do not know what they are. I'm going to bring up, will this work? Yes, here we go. I can bring questions up. Look at that. Seeing Marshall's personal life, including his estranged mom, made me vote for Marshall to be Radiant Black. I find that very interesting. I don't, not in a bad, interesting way, but in a like, we've explored both characters' personal lives, and it's curious to see which parts of that we've explored really resonate with some people and resonated with different people differently, to the point that we got to a pretty even vote, all things considered. This one from Owen's Reviews. I'm so glad that Orson is still alive. Like I said, we wouldn't kill a dog off camera. That's way too much juice to waste.
But we had to fight Michael to bring Orson back.
That's Eduardo. Not only is that a lie, the fact that we brought him back here was my idea.
Well, okay, but I do have to back up Eduardo here. In some of the group threads, Michael, there was one person on this call who was not pro Orson.
I don't think it's me.
He would be back on 31 already. Michael didn't let us.
I don't think that's true at all. I don't believe that's a true recounting of events.
Michael doesn't like Kathy, and he doesn't like Orson.
I
There's
don't
something
like
wrong with
Kathy,
you,
that's
Michael.
true. I would have been fine with us killing Kathy way before I'd have been fine with us killing Orson. I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler to say there are characters in this book that I strongly advocated for us to have killed in the Catalyst War. Coming up next issue, there's a scene that could have been very, very different that I argued vehemently and vociferously for months that we should kill a character, and these guys didn't let me do it. So what they're actually doing is reversing the truth on you live. They're the ones who didn't want to kill someone, not me.
Well, I mean, it's not that I disagree with you, but I disagree with you.
Okay.
No, I don't actually disagree with you, but we actually could show off a little bit of early art from issue 34 if we wanted to do that. Maybe we could allude to those people that you're talking about, Michael. Who is this?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Kyle, I think this is the only sequence in this issue that's safe to show people, right?
Yeah, we really like.
It
We
kicks
really
off.
Can't show anything else.
We-
We
it
literally can't show
truly
anything else
kicks
from
off.
34.
Um,
Oh my
but
God.
we can show this for sure. And listen, all I'm saying is, I think we could have killed one of the guys in Circle Guy News.
Well, Ryan, the boys are back, and there was almost one less of you if Michael had gotten his way.
And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, Ryan was on my side and fully prepared for it to be him. I think is my understanding of the situation. There we go.
Ryan, are you there? Do you want to jump in and voice your support for Michael? It would be an even 2-on-2 then.
Or your concerns.
Yeah. Oh, he is joining. We'll give him a beat here as he gets his camera set up.
No, I'm all for it. I was all for it. Just do it. Why not? I think it would have made a more interesting story. Come on,
And I
we're
think-
in Lockport, clearly, right? So, like, the
Right.
war happened. So maybe something happened. Should I tell him about the idea that I had?
Please.
Because if
yes.
we're not
So we
killing
didn't do
one,
it, so
since we didn't do it, what I wanted to happen was I wanted one of us to die, and then the other just be replaced by or there was a couple ideas kicking around. One idea was that there would just have been another Bill, for example, from the other universe that was brought over. So whether one of us died or not, there would just be two Bills, and it's just a slightly different one.
It's very funny to imagine all of these people that Kieran is doing, like, okay, so we're sending you to Alaska and you can never come back to Chicago. And he looks at Bill and Bill's like, I'm going to be fine with this. Just,
Yeah.
I'll just go live with myself. Don't stress about me. It'll be cool.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure there will be plenty. Yes, exactly, Owen. That is the point. That's why. That's why I thought that would have been funny.
It will have to be Marcelo. I can't kill any of you. I wouldn't be able.
It would have
to
been off
draw-
screen.
To draw
would have been
that.
off-
you
screen.
you have fought for too much democracy with them, Eduardo.
Yeah,
It would
yeah.
be-
Yeah.
They're
it would
my,
be
No.
my rule.
fellow brothers.
I'm sure Chicago is not a safe place. So I don't know. Maybe there'll be another chance. But until then, we'll see.
I'm-
And he's gone, just
Oh,
like
man.
that.
And he's gone.
That's what it
And
would have been
just-
like
and-
if he died in Catalyst War.
Exactly. There's still time. There's still time. You don't know. We
No,
haven't
there's
print-
not.
oh, we did print this.
That's what it's okay. It's fine. We might do another event. Here is a comment from Common Sense. I remember Sonia Crash the Werewolf. Yeah, we've had a surprising number of werewolves adjacent to the book for not a fantasy book. So that was from our Radiant Red backups by Paul Allor and God help me, I'm blanking on the artist who was Chris.
It was Chris Evenhouse.
Yes, of course it was. I hope they get to do something with that character at some point. I had a lot of fun helping those guys out with that.
Yeah, same.
Here's another one from Common Sense. If Nathan had been voted to be Radiant Black, would he have faced challenges from his girlfriend similar to Marshall's mum? And would Satomi have been a supporting character like Eva is to Marshall? Maybe. But
Yeah,
also
it's-
maybe not. There's
I'm not sure
there's
they are
some
so
stuff
close, right? She tried to kill him. She killed him, actually, right?
there. Yeah.
But, I mean,
Sato-
who's perfect though? Like
Okay, but I do feel like if someone kills you, you're allowed to be still mad about it, right? I think
It depends,
what
I
I
guess.
would say is
They wouldn't be
if
roommates.
Nathan...
well, to be fair, I think both of them are pretty self-sustaining in a way that maybe they wouldn't need roommates quite like Marshall and Eva do.
Yeah. And I think what that sort of gets at is if Nathan had been voted to be Radiant Black, you probably wouldn't be seeing. Oh, shit, no, that's fine then. You probably wouldn't be seeing this current storyline happening, but
Yeah.
just with Nathan instead of Marshall. We really would have, like. We built this from the ground up around Marshall and Marshall's fears and, you know, who Marshall is and what made sense. It would have been pretty different, I think. We didn't really do it because we knew who'd won by the time we were building this stuff out. But I don't think it would have been a 1-to-1, but with different supporting characters. No.
Yeah, Nathan would be fighting another shirtless guy on the roof. You know, it wouldn't be a werewolf.
Yes, would have been a different.
What's the
a
name
werewolf
of that guy?
vampire.
What's the name of that guy?
I need any description
The
at
sexy
all.
guy, the sexy shirtless guy who is with Nathan's girlfriend now.
Oh,
I
Braden.
forgot his. Yeah, Braden.
Braden. Now
Braden could get turned into a werewolf.
Nathan would fought Braden. You know.
Braden would not be turned into hot green guy, Kelly. I'm putting my foot down on that right now. Oh man.
So this is from JMCT. 2 months ago, we were told by you that the Yellow Radiant is gone forever. So if possible, without spoilers, what's up with issue 36? It's a great question. Time is funny when you can see all of it at once. Radiant Black 36 is in stores in a couple of months. I'm not going to tell you any more than that. We're working on that issue right now. I think it slaps. Stefano has already turned in inks that I have to go review after this. They look incredible. I think it's going to be something really special, and I'm really excited to get to that and then get to what's after that.
Yeah.
I have a couple of definitions of a Jaeger bomb here. Can I throw some up and see which ones you guys like the most?
Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's one from Comic Tropes that is just straight factual definition. A shot of Jaeger dumped into an energy drink like a Red Bull. That sounds insane. Is it insane?
You've never had a Red Bull either.
No. Or a coffee or a Coca-Cola. So
They don't
we
have
are
those
so
in Australia.
We're so many degrees away from my understanding of what drinks is that I simply don't know how to imagine it.
It's sure. Yes, it is as you pointed out, it is a factually accurate representation of Jägermeister. Now this is a controversial take. I'm just going to point that out there. I'm with you, Daniel, for the first half of this. There is definitely something that is ignited. As to things always working out, it depends on how you feel about being curled around your toilet for several hours at a time.
Bad. I feel bad about that for sure.
Yeah, it's not like it's not something you usually do by choice.
Let's try
this
this
is
one.
a good one. Oh, you go. Yeah, you got it.
When your friends
Jaeger
make
bomb,
you
when your
want to
friends-
make you suffer after you tell them, sure, get me anything.
That's a good one.
Although Eduardo did buy us, Eduardo's the one who bought us tequila shots
Yeah.
before getting on a 20-hour flight at like 2 a.m. in India.
We had like 4 tequila shots with beers.
That's what I remember.
I think, yeah. And I didn't even sleep on the plane after that.
Well, no, you want to know why? Because alcohol and caffeine is awesome.
Is that true?
It's an experience. Kelly has a take. It's bubbles and bad taste.
Fair enough. Let's a couple more questions here from Nutty. I wonder if we'll be getting more Nathan, like a phone call or something. Stay tuned.
Issue
I
34
think
is right around
Who
the corner.
knows?
35 is
Yeah.
right after that, and who the heck knows what could happen in 36?
I think
I mean, we
what
know. I know.
we
You
we
know.
know, yeah, it's
Yeah.
written, it's being drawn. I know exactly what
It's
happens in it. I could tell everyone right now, but I'm not going to. I think all I would say is we are intentionally giving you Nathan withdrawals because part of the point of this arc of the book is that Marshall had Nathan, and that's new and weird for him. He's not a no one's a werewolf now.
well, not anymore because we have a leak, Michael, and I don't know how those documents are getting out, but we're gonna have a conversation after this because Blizzard Snow should not have been looped in on that thread.
That's fair enough. So yes, Nathan will be back at some point, but we're not going to tell you when until it happens. And, we're not going to tell you in what form that takes either. Here's one from Common Sense. The Premier Radiant is not destroyed. Catalyst took it back with them when they ran away to outer space.
Yep.
What's going to happen to it? That's a question for another day. But you're right to be worried about it. That's a lot of power to be just out there floating around.
Yeah, it was
That
not
is very true.
destroyed, right?
No, absolutely.
not.
So far, none of the Radiants have been destroyed, except the yellow one that got absorbed, and who knows what's going on with that one. Question from Owen's Reviews. Are you guys going to do an Infinite Edition for 36 like you did 18? We haven't planned it. It doesn't have the same format that issue 18 has. So
Right.
it makes a little less sense for issue 36. But maybe. We'll talk about it. Kyle, are there any other questions you would like to get to in the chat? Or should we pick a Jaeger bomb that you like and then wrap up?
Let's see here. CJ, we would all pay money for Nathan versus Braden.
I
And
mean,
hopefully,
Nathan's out in
the
LA
future,
right now, right?
You'll be able to. Yeah.
Who knows what's going on? I bet they fist fought at least once.
From Michael, will the Radiants eventually get their own superhero base? All the other heroes have one in some way. Michael, all the other heroes have a superhero base. Can we have a superhero base?
We do have a superhero base. It's this shitty apartment that two of them live in. Marshall doesn't even have a bed frame. His mattress is just on the floor. This is what you get when you're not a billionaire industrialist, when you're just a regular guy.
Isn't that uplifting? Let's see here. Anything else? Oh, here we go. This is a good one from Owen's Reviews. He's never drunk a Jaeger bomb, but he gets the feeling that it would make him wish he did drink an actual bomb instead. I like this one from Comic Tropes. Licorice and caffeine. Yep, both things I love, by the way. You'd think I like Jaeger bombs more than I do. From CJ, a surefire way to kill one's liver. That's pretty good. Let's see. From James Santana, I'm from Long Island, and there are weekend staples, and they are weekend staples when I was in my 20s. Never again. This one might be the winner, but we're not going to send him a copy of his own cover. My favorite drink.
Hey, Rod.
How are you, Rod? Oh, Chris, he really likes these commentaries. Thank you. We like doing them as well, and we like doing them even more when you're in the chat. So, actually, the last few times we've done these, they've been on Monday nights, and that's the same time that Chris streams on his own channel for. Chris, what is it called now? Is it Comic Tropes After Dark, or is it the Spinner Rack, or Weekly Spinner Rack, or what? I don't remember what. Yeah, it's a cool name. Let's see if we'll see if he's still here. Let's see. Oh, here's a good question. Can we expect? Oh wait, I don't know who put that up. Michael being a god-tier editor, dealing with us every month, yelling ideas. That's every day, James. You get to see. This is a snapshot, but this is 24/7, and actually it really is 24/7 because of time zones. So
I've developed the ability to say no to things in my sleep.
Jaeger bombs make Rod feel young in the wrong way. Like you can't get anything done because you're obliterated? Oh, man. My Sentai name for team is Akurai? How do you say it, Michael?
I don't know. I'm not Japanese.
Akurai Sentai Rangers. Here we go. Okay. Look, we haven't.
You've
said
got to
that
stop bringing
Nathan's
this one
not
up.
a werewolf.
Nathan's not a werewolf.
Marshall will
Okay.
be eventually
No one's a werewolf
a
except the
vampire
werewolves.
werewolf.
It really
here's
is
one more
like
good
this
one.
all the time. You guys don't know. You guys don't know, but it is like this all the time.
Yeah. Will no one team up with Radiant Black or the other Massiverse heroes later down the line? Well, only no one knows, which means that none of us have any awareness. And maybe he doesn't either, because if no one knows, then who really knows?
It's too confusing.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about some things in that direction, both specifically that and not specifically that. But nothing at the moment, but stay tuned. You never know. It's a big universe.
From Beyond Live, have you had any scrapped ideas for Radiant Black that you would be open to bringing back for future volumes?
Yeah, this one.
You just have it on hand?
I can't believe he
Yeah.
has it in front of him.
I thought I would need it. Yeah.
You just have it there? It's just like ready to go at
Here.
a moment's notice?
Yep.
All right, screw it. It's going to be a backup at some point, Eduardo, at least.
Marshall School
Yeah.
of Werewolf Business. Yeah, I think we can
Common
make that
sense.
work.
Common Sense says Halloween special. Halloween
my
special
God.
would be nice.
October variant cover. Yeah, we could do that. Totally do that.
Could we do? Okay, we'll talk. That
Michael
becomes
is
my
already
problem
having
all of a sudden,
nightmares. Yeah.
scheduling wise. But that's fine. We can talk about it.
All
With
right.
that-
Well, I think we can. Yeah, we can start wrapping up. Are there any other questions while we're still here? We'll see if we can knock out a few more. I don't think a Radiant Black swimsuit issue is a bad idea. I don't
I've
know that it's
pitched
a good
Massiverse swimsuit special more than once. The problem is the
Calendar.
number of our characters that are children,
There
and
should
it's
have a
like
calendar.
it's a non-zero amount that makes it difficult.
They should do a
So-
calendar. They would. We have
I
enough
did-
characters.
I did pitch on Twitter last night. I don't know if you guys saw this. You know how there's the Met Gala? I think we should do the Matt Gala, where Matt Groom designs fancy outfits for everyone, and then all of the real artists have to interpret those as actual fashion.
I just want you guys to know that Kelly is in the other room losing her mind at the idea.
Oh, we can
of-
hear her for
of
sure, yeah.
of Shift in a, like, I don't know, a thong or something.
Kelly, you're an artist. You can just do that yourself at any point in time. I thought that was the reason people became artists.
I'm pretty sure that's how that works. Yeah. When do
Okay.
we get to see Marshall in duck pattern boxers? Never, actually, never. That's a real easy answer.
All right, I think that we are starting to get silly. Kyle, did you have a favorite description of a Jaeger bomb to pick?
I don't remember now.
Mine
let's
is
see.
what's the name of the K, who talks about his friends, bring him Krensky. Yeah, that's my favorite.
Sure, but I think Crows works with us, so I don't know. Is that fair for Crows to win the? I'm sorry, Crows. We love you. Let's see. You know what? I think Daniel Apple is the winner on this one.
That's a good one too. Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah. Woo! Congrats, Daniel. We'll hook you up. reach out through just reach out actually through the Black Market site or through social, and Ryan Sidoti will get you a copy of the 1 in 25 Rod Reese foil incentive cover for Radiant Black 33.
All right. So, Radiant Black issue 34 will be out about a month from today. I think exactly a month from today, in the first week of June. It is a week later than it was initially scheduled for. We just needed a little extra time on this one. But I feel like it is worth saying that we are actively in production right now on issue 35 and 36 and 37. So, those will all be coming out on time, and they are going to slap. We're doing some cool stuff.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be back next month for another one of these. And until then, stay radiant.
See you guys soon.
Bye, guys.